Good morning and welcome to Tony's Cool Tools. Today we're out in the field. We're going to have some fun. I don't know why men love destructive things, but you're going to see some pretty cool stuff here. I'm here with Bob Wick from Wick Habitat, and we're going to be talking about forest mulching. I have no idea what that was before I came out here. We're at my friend Dick's property that is restoring prairies, and this is part of it. So here we go. Bob, Tell us what the heck forest mulching or
forestry mulching.
Forestry mulching.
Yeah, that's a technology. It's been around for a few decades, and it's getting to be more and more common as more better technologies become available as to how the machines are built and the applications that they can be used on. When it first started to come into being, it was really designed for much larger machines, but now we're seeing a move towards smaller platforms that allow some smaller operators in more effective use and efficient use and cost-effective use on private land and on smaller projects instead of just mainly right-of-way or gas line, pipeline right-of-way clearings over the...
Well, that was the next question is, what is this beneficial for? I understand right-of-ways, pipelines, and everything else, but you're at a private individual's home now, and what benefits are there for forest mulching?
Right, so this is like it's a small brush, small trees, vegetation, mainly woody vegetation, mastication, removal. It shreds it, puts it onto the ground, and it opens up the landscape so you can do future management options, towards restoring landscapes to a better habitat that would be available, or if you're trying to control woody invasive species such as buckthorn or honeysuckle. And it just, when you get to a level of infestation or growth that it becomes more effective to bring in equipment like this to do it instead of doing like paid hand work or hand labor, or you bringing in guys with chainsaws. This is just a different way of managing that property in a cost-effective way, and to get to kind of reset the landscape and do future land management work on it.
Well, I'll tell you, you're making a lot of deer management people out there happy with doing something like this, opening this all up, because the deer are going to come right back in here, I'm sure. So
right, like on Dick's property here, the main issue that he's dealing with is the glossy buckthorn, which is a woody invasive species. It's not native to this part of the country, let alone this part of the state. And it's from Europe. It doesn't have any natural controls. So when it becomes, when it starts growing on a person's property, it really has an advantage over the native vegetation that's there. And so it becomes super thick. It shades out native herbaceous vegetation and also stops the natural hardwood regeneration that you normally would see in a woodlot. So then by mowing this down, we can get it back to a stage where we can, do different options to treat it to keep it from getting reestablished. And then that also will allow native hardwoods to start to repopulate the area, allow native herbaceous vegetation to cover the ground, and that benefits all the native animals, insects, and birds that normally would utilize this type of habitat, but are now getting excluded because the buckthorn has gotten so thick over the years.
And it comes up earlier than most of the other plants. Correct. And it stays longer than most of the other plants.
Yeah, it has a longer green up season, so it gives it gives it a leg up over the native species.
Now, how long have you been doing this?
Myself, I've been doing professional land management work since about 2008.
Okay, so you're not a rookie.
No, I got quite a few hours in on machines like this, so yeah.
Well, this is unbelievable. Just watching you come through the woods, I'm like, this is a big boy's lawnmower. I'm telling you, watching you go through those. And how big of a tree can you cut? Can you grind down with this?
Yeah, so you start to talk about cost effectiveness and where you'd have You could certainly grind down a big tree with this, but at some point where is it more efficient to do it with a machine like this as opposed to doing chainsaw work? But with this style head here, you're really about 6 or 8 inches in stem diameter and smaller.
Okay.
It's kind of the effective range for this. There are other heads out there that instead of having carbide tips, so it's more of a shredding action, they have actual knives on the horizontal drum, and that actually is more of a cutting action. And that you can really get into really large material. We've taken down trees up to 24 inches in diameter with that type of head.
Well,
So,
this is some huge equipment, I'll tell you. It's impressive to just stand here and watch, and this thing will throw stuff out 100 feet in front of you. We were watching.
Yep. When it's going, the horizontal drum spins about 2,000 RPM, so it does have a lot of energy in it, and it can pick up pieces and shoot them out like a rocket if you're not careful. So when the fur does fly, it does fly a ways. So
Well, I know a number of the viewers are going to be interested in this. Is this priced when you do jobs? Is it by the job or by the hour, or how does that or how are you charging on something like this?
Right, and it depends. Sometimes if you have a job that goes out and it's a large scale project like 20 or 30 acres, that might go out as an entire project bid, so to speak, and then that would be a fixed number that is applied to the whole project. If you get to smaller projects, maybe less than a day, you might charge by the hour. And typically equipment like this, it varies obviously from operator to operator and what type of equipment they're running. But you can see hourly rates anywhere from $200 to $280 an hour.
Okay.
And then a cost per acre, that's another metric that you might apply to a site, is typically in a woodland underbrushing scenario like we have on Dick's here, your cost is right around $600 or $700 per acre.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to put, let's say somebody had 5 or 6 acres and they just wanted to put a path through it, something like that, then that would be on an hourly basis. And
correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And usually, you charge maybe a 4-hour minimum to get on site, because obviously you just can't show up and work for an hour and then expect to, make
well, and there's drive time. You're in Wisconsin Dells, right?
Yeah, I'm just north of the Dells. Yep,
yeah, the party city of Wisconsin.
Yeah, right. Yep. A lot of people come there for that. That's
absolutely.
For sure. Yep.
Fantastic. Well, I don't want to keep you because I know you're getting paid good here, so I figured thank you so much. If there's anything else you wanted our viewers to know about this, please feel free.
Okay. Yep. This tool style here, it has the carbide tips on it, and those can withstand stone strikes up to a point. But the rotor spins in this direction, and what this is really doing is it grabs the material and kind of pulls it around underneath. And then if you can look underneath the lip there, you can see those like shark fins, and those are what they call the counter combs. So as this rotor is turning, it's pulling that material up and it hits those counter combs, and that kind of holds it in place. This obviously is happening in milliseconds.
Yes.
And then it just pummels it until it is sized down enough where it discharges it out the top of the chute here.
Way cool.
So the other style that I run has knives on it, and then there's no counter combs in the back, but there's like a steel bar that just clears the knives, and that acts like an anvil, so that material again gets pulled underneath there, it hits that bar, and then those knives work on it just like a wood chipper, really.
Sure.
So that material, when that comes out, that's a lot finer material, a lot smaller chips.
Mulching, so you can just leave it on the ground, it decays much quicker.
Right. And the carbide head here, this is more of a shredded, coarse material, and you'll get some longer spears and some other pieces like that. But really when you're doing conservation type work like this, we're not so much concerned about the looks of it. We're just getting the material broke down as efficiently as possible to allow access onto the site later. In this case, we'll come back through with a UTV type sprayer and do a boomless spray application, because this mulching doesn't kill necessarily the vegetation.
Okay.
So that's a really important point to make. And that even though it looks pretty clean now, you get to a year from now, towards the end of July of the next growing season, you'll have knee to hip high shoots that are coming off these root systems that are established. So that's where we come in with this UTV sprayer We'll do a boomless application, and it'll kill those shoots that come off of there. And it'll also kill any seedlings, because there is a seed bank when you get on sites like this with the buckthorn that has been on site for a number of years. And then that will kill the seedlings at the same time too. And it might take a couple seasons of herbicide work, but then you want to get to a point where you just kind of maybe a spot spray in. You'll always be doing like a monitoring. You know, the landowner should go through his site, maybe break it down and take 5 or 10 acres, depending on how big their site is, but just walk some transects through there in the fall. And if you get any new infestations that pop up or a new
just respray.
Target, just spray it and spot spray it. But, in a few years, you're going to be to a point where you can manage the buckthorn or other woody invasives to such a low population that you'll have more of your good stuff growing, and you can keep that other stuff to such a low population that it's not going to keep your habitat from being the natural habitat that you want it to be.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for this explanation and this great machine here. I must say you have fun playing with it, or at least it sure did look like it.
Yeah, I call it anger management.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, I just want to thank Bob too. He's been here before. He's a veteran, obviously. I've learned so much from him, way beyond just clearing the land, about how to do it and what's right and what techniques and what to watch for. And so my goal, ours, is he'll continue to come back periodically and take on more of this attack on the invasives. But it's the difference now from how this looked 10 years ago is it's night and day difference. And I can't say enough about Bob Wick and his service. Thanks, Bob.
Yep, glad to help. And I guess the other thing too is to kind of cap this too is when you have a project, especially one the size of this one here, where you have quite a number of acres, is to kind of develop a plan. So you have a plan of action. So we don't come in and forestry mulch this year, spend all this time, this money, this effort to get this set back like this, and then we don't follow up with, what's the next step of that plan, which would be, in this case, would be herbicide work. And it's not to say that we have to rely on herbicide all the time. He has been doing some woodland burning, which actually is another great management tool for controlling invasives and other, just to encourage natural regeneration. But, I think that's really almost key, is really before you really start any work, is to have that plan, so you can figure out what steps are going to be taken, over what number of years or seasons, and what you want to see, what's your ultimate goal. But then along that way, you're going to be able to set a budget, so you don't go in and spend all the money on forestry mowing, but then you realize year 2 or year 3, you don't have enough budget to do the herbicide work.
Sure.
Or maybe put seedlings in, or planting trees, or doing native seeding or whatever. You kind of have to plan it and then kind of stick to that plan. You can be fluid with it and maybe change up things here and there if you have an issue that comes up with maybe an herbaceous invasive species that shows up. You can go work on the woody stuff, the buckthorn maybe, and then you might have some thistle come in. So that might require an additional herbicide work. But you can remain fluid like that, but you still need to have that basic plan to kind of ensure the success of the effort and the money.
And I want to thank everyone for stopping in here, and if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe. And remember, pass it forward, make the world a better place. And thank you, and don't be a tool, watch Tony's Cool Tools. Thanks, bye. Here's some additional drone footage as well as some action shots of the forest mulcher in action.